If you're a Sens fan right now, are you happy?
Oh, is there no other option? I thought there was another option.
Are you freaked out? Are you sad?
You're curious to see what the next 7 days have in store.
Oh, without a doubt. For those who haven't heard, a little speculation around the Senators and Eugene Melnyk's future as the owner right now. If you missed it earlier on in the show, how about we get him back up to speed? You good with that, Sixero? Yesterday we told you about a $135 million financing deal for the Sens to help pay off debt, reinvest in the team. Now that raised a few eyebrows, as did some speculation about where the money was coming from. Also, this morning, a report from David Pagnot in the fourth period, who said, and I quote, Senators owner Eugene Melnyk has received and discussed an offer for the franchise. While rejected, talks are believed to be ongoing, per sources. Like the Senators are up for sale.
That's kind of the gist of that. In the fourth period article, Bill Daly, NHL deputy commish, been on our show plenty of times, was said to have acknowledged the report, but said that he doesn't, quote, equate an offer to purchase the Sens with an intention or desire to sell the team. The two are very different in my mind, end quote. Daly then told the Ottawa Citizen the following. Right. Eugene has no interest in selling the Sens. Offers are made for NHL teams all the time. Doesn't really mean anything, end quote. James Corden of The Athletic. He is in the Ottawa area. He's been on our show before. He's fantastic. James is joining us as we try and gauge the real temperature of what it is that's going on here. James, welcome to the show. The speculation is starting to run wild here. What's the one thing you want to say initially that you believe has been overblown in some of this speculation?
Well, I mean, it's, on the one hand, the NHL's right and Bill Daly's right where, you can make the argument, I guess, that an offer to purchase the team isn't the same thing as a legitimate offer or a willingness from the owner to sell the team. But at the same time, I think it speaks to where this franchise is right now that that speculation is even happening. It's been a long time here for the Ottawa Senators, and I know we talked about this under colder circumstances back at the NHL 100 when all of this sort of dark cloud came over the team, when Eugene Melnyk was kind of floating the idea, I guess, of possibly moving the team down the road if the business didn't improve. So, someone can come to your door and offer you $200,000 under asking for your house. You probably won't sell it. That doesn't mean they won't come back at some later date and say, okay, well, how about this price? And then I think if the price gets high enough, then Eugene Melnyk has to consider it. Obviously, it's not at that point yet, but when these rumblings start happening, then obviously there's a reason for it, and there's some probably motivated buyers, and there have been. The team that finished second to Melnyk's team for the bidding for LeBreton Flats. I don't think their interest has ever waned in acquiring the team, and I know there's some speculation out there that they might be the ones behind this bid. So, we're at the early stages right now, but I think there's more to come on this.
Let's stay with that selling of the house analogy, James, because I wonder if Eugene Melnyk hasn't whispered to the real estate agent that I'm listening. Do you think that he is actively searching for someone to take this off of his hands?
Well, certainly if you take his denials at face value, then no. I mean, he said on multiple occasions that his intention is to hand this team over to his kids one day, that he loves owning an NHL team, and he has no intention to sell. But there's other factors that go into that sort of thing. I mean, he hasn't been shy at all. Again, going back to that infamous press conference at the outdoor game where he said, how much money am I expected to put into this? Maybe it would look better somewhere else, all this stuff. He has openly admitted that his management is kind of cut to the bone. They're trying to move salary out, not the least of which is Bobby Ryan, who they've reportedly tried to attach to any potential Erik Karlsson trade. So there's a lot of outside factors here, and also not to mention the consistently falling attendance. And yeah. I don't think moving Erik Karlsson out would help that. So that could be a factor coming up next season too, where the team is bringing in even less money than they did this year when the owner was already talking about about the business not being good. So again, it may sincerely be his intention to keep the team, and with this financing announcement, that would suggest that that's his intention for now. But circumstances change that are sometimes outside of the team's control. We've got a potential lockout coming up. We've got lots of factors and a continuing deterioration of the business here. So whether or not he wants to sell, I doubt it. Whether or not he may feel eventually in the end that it's in his best interest to sell, I think he may get there at some point.
There's questions with the stadium situation. There's questions with ownership. I think the one thing, and Tim, I don't know if you agree with me or not, that would make Sens fans feel, and for the first time in a while, like they're on terra firma, is if they hear Erik Karlsson gets that long-term deal. That's the move in this that I think could help. I know I'm not completely convincing you, but I think that goes in a positive direction. It's a good start. Was there any connection, James, in the refinancing yesterday and potentially having enough now to pay the man, Erik Karlsson?
I don't know whether I'd make that direct connection. I mean, back in 2013, there was a lot of talk about this refinancing because the team was actually having trouble locking down some financing because of the last NHL lockout, and their revenues were obviously not happening when they weren't playing hockey. So the team really had to scrounge around and find some people who were willing to lend them some money, and they did eventually secure $150 million in financing. That got them out from some worse financing before that. And the suggestion, I think, from the team yesterday was that this financing is better than the last round. So whether or not it's related to Erik Karlsson, I think you could say it's related to the operation of an NHL team, and that encompasses Erik Karlsson, because this is a team that's been in a lot of debt for a long time now, and it's sort of a continuance of that. So I don't know whether or not that makes it more or less likely that they can sign Erik Karlsson. I think it depends more on whether or not Erik Karlsson wants to be here. And to me, I mean, reading between the lines, I think all signs point to that he's probably ready for a fresh start, given all the sort of negative realities around here, and possibly even the direction of the team. I mean, this is a team that could finish near where it was this season next year, and they don't even have a top pick coming at the end of it because they traded it in the Matt Duchene deal. There's some questions about how they're going to sign Mark Stone, and Duchene's due for a new deal coming up here too. So overall, and not to mention the star kind of starting goalie just has to be traded. So there's a lot of factors that I think would push a player of Erik Karlsson's caliber, a guy who can basically write his ticket anywhere once he's a free agent, to maybe want a change of scenery here. And it all comes down to that. And I think we'll get a lot of clarity on that when we move towards the Canada Day signing period.
You know, it's funny because none of us want to make any pronouncements here because it's always a fluid situation. But man, there's a ton of writing on the wall. Like, there are scribbles all over this wall. Are we in a spot where the speculation about deals already near consummated or talked about with Karlsson are legitimate, and it would be just the due diligence of Pierre Dorion to make sure that they get something back as opposed to letting him walk for nothing after next season?
Yeah, I mean, I think they have to do that. You can't let an Erik Karlsson walk, and I think that's something that could be really devastating to a team like the Islanders, who stuck it out with John Tavares, and then they might lose a top 3 to 5 center in the league for nothing. And for a team like the Ottawa Senators, they simply can't afford to let a player of that caliber go, because they may well be kind of on the cusp of a rebuild here if things keep going sour for them, and they need those assets to keep building towards the future. And for the longest time, and not that it's going to be an easy sell here, because I think people are going to be extremely perturbed if Erik Karlsson isn't in a Senators jersey next year. But the reality is, I think that they do need to explore those options if he does signal to them that he doesn't really have any interest in coming back.
James, good stuff. We appreciate it. Never a dull moment in our nation's capital for any reason, specifically hockey. Thanks for doing this, man. Appreciate it.
Thank you, guys.
James Gordon of The Athletic. And